Hold on, let me get in the boat.
Now we're talking.
That's a slobber.
Wow, nice fish.
Oh. There we go.
That might be a little better.
Oh, that bitch is screaming, right?
Wow.
You're watching Northeast Angling. We're proud to present inshore and offshore saltwater fishing. We cover every species from fluke and porgies to stripers, sharks, and tuna. You can learn more about techniques, tackle, and destinations at neangling.com. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well, our guest today is Captain John Marino, American Sport Fishing Charters, based in the western Long Island Sound.
And he really doesn't qualify as a guest. He's a close friend that we fished with many a time.
This is true.
So, you know, he knows the gig here. We're going to do something a little bit different today. Tell us all about it.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to fish a jig for blackfish. And this is something that's going to blow people away. I can't tell you how excited I am about this. We're going to see fish probably up to 8-9 pounds. I'm not confident on light tackle with jigs. Now, John, this is something you've been doing for, what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, I've been doing it 4 or 5 years. When they changed the regulations on the blackfish from 10 to 4, I wanted to come up with something that was a little bit different.
Made it a little more sporty.
For my customers. And to be honest with you, I had a couple of guys that were egging me on to do this for 15 years, for the last 15 years that have been doing it.
Yeah, and you had to beg Rich and I to do it. You never got me to do it, but you got him to do it.
And it was tough to get him to change.
Yeah, I was stuck in my ways for a long time, but I've been doing it for a few years now also. And, you know, it's a big advantage. And we're going to show you today how much of an advantage this could be.
Oh, guys, this may not be much of a start.
Nice shot.
I'm hoping it's going to get bigger than this.
Yeah, that's bigger.
All right, that's just wrong.
Why is that wrong? Ooh, that's
Because
nice
you
fish.
caught him.
There's one.
All right, so obviously, well,
I stole that one.
John's
That one.
luckily not much bigger than mine. That's
All
not
right,
bad.
let's go in now. I got the pool.
Wow.
Hey, you would like that, huh, Rich?
Guys, this is going to be, in my opinion, probably one of the most unique, interesting shows that you're ever going to see. We're blackfishing. It's early October. Opening day was October 1st. We're right off the shorelines in Connecticut here off of Norwalk, actually. And if you look at the gear we're using, you wouldn't think we're blackfishing, would you, John?
Nope.
And you know, I feel like I'm in a horrible handicap here. I know that you and John have been doing this for a while. It's my first time doing this. I got a tiny little jig, a spinning rod, and I'm just dropping these little tiny baits down.
I can
We'll
honestly
have a
say,
grab.
John, I don't think there's a show that we've ever filmed where Andy hasn't given an excuse before we started.
Well, you know what? There's
Wasn't
no
that
excuses this time, Rich, because when I called you to tell you about this type of fishing, I had 9-year-old little girls catching fish that never handled a spinner rod in their lives, and they were catching 20 and 30 fish on a trip.
Well, right now, I kind of feel like a 9-year-old little girl. But this is something totally new for me.
It's a lot of fun.
It's weird because, you know what, I'm so used to holding a piece of lead on the bottom, and this is just totally different.
What we're doing, we're fishing size reels somewhere around 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, or 2,500 size reels, 6.5, 7-foot spinners. And what we're doing is we're using, oh, that was a good fish. We're using jig heads, all right? And what they are is basically lead heads. Gentleman over in New Rochelle, John, Hudson Park Bait and Tackle, Johnny Knight, started making this blackfish jig. And, you know, to all our disbelief, we're all traditional black fishermen. No way in the world was anybody going to get me to use a spinning rod, a spinning reel, and a 1/2 ounce, 3/4, 1 ounce, 2 ounce, whatever the case may be, jig head with a crab on it. It just wasn't feasible, was it, John?
Well, Rich, I think your exact words were, you have to hold a gun to my head to even get me try it.
Yep.
So, and here we are 3 years later.
And we're using them.
And we're using them almost every day, right?
And it's an amazing thing, guys. It really is.
This is light tackle blackfishing, which is something I would have never thought we would have considered because, you know, our biggest concern is always pulling fish like this out of the bottom. But luckily with braided lines, we can. Well,
that's a good fish.
And
Wow.
You know, the nice thing about this is
Keep mine.
you can pull them out. You got to keep them out.
The nice thing about this is Andy's rod is finally bent.
Hey, there you go.
Well, you know
There
what?
you go.
This is
There
going
you
to
go.
take
All
a
right,
little.
they're getting bigger.
This is going to take a
Getting
little bit
bigger,
of
guys.
learning. And you know, a funny thing here, this is about patience because you get it down there, you get pecked on right away.
Right away.
And you just got to try and be patient enough, wait for
if
it to
you're-
start rolling with the jig.
But again, you know, I always was the most traditional black fisherman. And to me, as far as I'm concerned, this is the best fish God ever created.
Yep.
This is the reason I fish. I love this fish. I would rather do this than any other type of fishing known to man. And it's just downsizing to a spinning rod. Now, you guys are saying light tackle. I ain't going to lie to you. I fish 40, 50, sometimes even 60-pound braid on these little spinners. I know you, John, like to fish a little bit lighter.
I fish very light.
I'm a firm believer, and I want to see what I hook, okay? So basically, I can horse, and we have horsed. I've had fish up to 12 pounds. John's had fish up to 12 pounds on these jigs and on these spinners, which is an amazing feat. But you want to know something? It's a common practice. May not all 12s, but 8s, 9s will get landed. Hopefully, we'll see 1 or 2 today on this tackle.
Listen, even a 5-pound fish on this gear puts up an amazing battle for you.
And you know, these are great fish. And the reason why we always like blackfishing, even before light tackle, was that they fought great.
Yeah.
Man, we're fishing with conventional rods, loaded 50-pound test and a bunch of lead. And, you know, really talk about, whoa.
You're going to need a bigger boat if you right now.
Man, I got to go to the other side here, guys.
That
I'm
one
getting
snapped the
hammered.
bail open. This is a good one here. Well, they all feel great on this.
Now, at some point, you know, we pulled up here, we set up. At some point, we are going to get a net out because I think somebody's going to hook the right fish. And I got to remind you something. Right now, we're fishing 9 feet of water, okay? Oh, I just missed one. We're fishing 9 feet of water, and if you look at the way we're dressed, this is not traditionally how you dress for black. And in a minute, I'm going to take this vest off because it's hot.
Yeah.
A little bit of a touch there. Well, we made a little bit of move. Well, I'm afraid, guys, I am still not catching the big ones yet.
There we go.
Hopefully John's going to be doing a little bit better. We shifted the anchors a bit. And it's something you got to do out here because if you're on a piece and the tide changes like it did with us, you got to get back where the fish are.
I need a net here, I think, guys.
I'll get you, John.
Guys, fish is going to the bottom again.
You know, John, one of the hardest things with this
That's
jig
good fish.
is actually setting the hook.
Yep.
So, well, that's good fish.
Well, you know what happens, Rich? In the beginning, when the bite's not right, you're going to miss a lot of fish, okay? And you got to wait it through. The right bite, you're going to know when you get the right bite, when that jig starts to just swim off away from you or towards you. It's going to move in one direction.
Yeah, well, what you actually want is you almost want that rod to almost start to bend a little bit before you follow through.
You know, if I feel a touch, a lot of times I'm going to drop down to the fish, give him another shot, another second, and pull up. If I feel a weight or I see that rod tip start to bend, I'm going to lift up.
Yeah.
It's going to be a smart pull. That's all it really is.
And again, even with lead, I mean, there's a lot of different bites that you get. You get the lifter sometimes, where you'll be bouncing, and then all of a sudden you lose the weight of your jig.
Right.
On that note, just get up and set.
Right, and a lot of times you can't turn the handle fast enough to really get a handle on it. You wind up losing that fish 90% of the time.
Right.
You know. But let me put this in the back here. We letting these fish go today?
That one we're gonna hold on
I think we're gonna hold on to this one.
Yeah, that one might want to stay with us. I think he's found a home. And I'll tell you what, you made a good move getting on this spot because there's definitely life down here.
Well, again, you know, that's important too. What you're actually looking for is, you're on a reef to begin with, but you're looking for the high spots. You want to get next to the larger boulders. You want to fish the edges of these rocks. You know, everybody says, you know, they always want to be right on the piece. I mean, I want to be right on the piece also, but actually, I want to be right on the piece to the fact where I could actually fish the sides of it. That's what I consider being right on the piece.
And one of the biggest mistakes that people do when they first come out here is they race right up to the reef, they find any old spot and they anchor.
Yep.
They don't poke around, they don't get a good feel on where they want to put the boat, and then next thing you know, they're shifting because they see the guy next to them's catching fish. Guy over here is catching fish.
Well,
those guys anchored a little bit better.
Nobody's more of a perfectionist when it comes to anchoring than John.
Yes.
I mean, I've spent times, you know, on the boat with him, just anchoring for half an hour, and you can't get frustrated because you have to be right where you want to be. Now, John, you're going to agree with me. Don't you agree that the edges of these pieces?
Well, Rich, I told you if I ever wrote a book on blackfishing, it would be called Where Mud Meets Rock.
Yeah, I agree.
It's always on the edge of the piece. Everybody thinks you got to be up on top of the piece. You know, it's not that there's not a lot of fish on the top of the piece. Just usually they're the wrong size fish. They're not the right fish.
And not like, enough for nothing, this is not like blackfishing was 15 years ago. 15 years ago, if you were around the structure, you caught fish.
Right.
This is pinpoint fishing right now. You may lift, you know, 15, 20 fish off one of these pieces, Well, you got to work for every one of those 15 or 20 fish.
Rich, how many times have you had one of your customers take a sigh because you made one more pass over a piece?
Oh, forget about it.
You know, and you got to stress to them how important it is to be within 2 or 3 feet of the boulder that you're targeting a lot of times. No. And here, we're in shallow water. We're in 11 feet of water, and the boulders are strewn around. They're not one on top of the other. And a lot of times we're going to move our anchor so that we could just bounce along from rock to rock.
The bottom is all hard.
Yes.
But you just don't want just that hard bottom. You know, if you're not around mud, you want that hard bottom where it meets the boulders.
Right.
You want those edges. You almost want to feel your line rubbing, or your jig rubbing
against the rock.
Edges. And that's generally when you're going to get popped.
That's one of the reasons why we use a shot of 4 to 5 foot of fluorocarbon on these rigs, because we are constantly rubbing against the boulders.
And you don't want your braided light ever touching these rocks.
No.
No. Because eventually it will pop, and even the best of the lines are going to break.
Again, we've said this a million times. Braid don't nick, braid breaks.
Yep.
Exactly.
So you need the monofilament as a shock leader. No two ways about it.
You know, the other nice thing about when we do set up in the spring, in the fall here, from boulder to boulder, a lot of times if we bridle anchor, we're able to you know, work each boulder. You know, you could put 3 or 4 marks on your screen.
Sure. There you go, fish
Like
on.
that one there.
Man.
Nobody's eating up.
There we go.
Now, that looks like the most amazing fight on that rock.
But,
It is so much fun, Andy. I was hooked on this the moment I did it.
People think you're going to lose a lot of fish doing this. You'd be amazed how much your hookup ratio
screamer, man.
and how much you land these fish, how consistently.
There we go. That's another nice fish. I'm going to swing this one.
That's a good fish.
That's a nice fish.
You know, you would think, look at me, I'm using spinning tackle for Blackfish. You got to be out of your freaking mind. I thought this for how many years? You want to know something? You'll be amazed at the majority of fish that you land using this method.
And it's just a better presentation.
Oh, by far, by far.
You got a crab that's scurrying back into the rocks, and it looks natural. You know, as soon as you drop that, you pull your line up, the bait comes up a couple of feet because of the braid. As soon as it drops back in, a lot of times is when you're going to get...
Visit the Northeast Angling website at neangling.com for nationwide saltwater charter directory, fishing news, and free fishing reports. You can also find dozens of techniques, tips, and tackle for every saltwater species. Now let's get back to the action.
John, you going to get the net on?
Yeah, I think so.
You know what the great thing is? Every now and then you got to use a little ingenuity with this type of fishing too, and you got to look. You got to look to see where the last big fish just came up, and that happened to be right where John was.
Well, the other thing, Rich, is that you did switch your jig heads at a certain person's request.
That is a good fish.
There we go.
Now these are title tail jigs. We're using what, John? 3/4 ounce right now?
Right now we're using 3/4.
3/4 ounce.
3/4 to an ounce.
John, you got an array of these jigs. I got an array of these jigs, anywhere from pretty much, I would say, 1/4, right up till about what, 4 ounces, right?
Right. You know what? When you're fishing a little deeper, you know, later on in the fall, 4-ounce jig, a lot of times topped with a hook above it. You know, the jig is more of an attractor. A lot of times you're going to get a honk on the top hook.
They make that really
But John Knight makes a beautiful product. It really does. Works good. He's got specially bent hooks just for the jig. Very nice.
Especially nice fish.
It is. I don't know if it's...
Oh, I'm gonna let him go.
Nice. That was generous.
Yeah, what do you think? You know what? The way this has been, you know, I mean, we're looking, obviously that's a very good fish, folks. If we get the right fish, we'll hold on a few for dinner. But we're having fun today. We're out on the charter.
Absolutely.
This is our opportunity to catch these fish, enjoy them. Don't have to worry about tying rigs, doing anything else. Just enjoy ourselves.
It doesn't get any simpler than this. Look,
No,
it's a
it
crab on a hook. That's it. And go to the bottom.
Again, the most amazing thing about this also, again, is look at the attire. As I go into my pocket for another crab.
Exactly.
Mental note, make sure you take them out of your pocket before the end of the day. But, you know, we want to get into about hooking these crabs also. You pretty much want to hook it like you would normally hook it with a regular straight hook.
Right.
And what we like to do is pop the shell off. Now, we're using the Asian crabs. Green crabs work well also. John, you and I both. Andy also. We like these crabs when the fish are shallow.
Yeah, I think once you get down to 50, 60 feet, it's a horse race at that
Actually,
point.
even 30, I would say.
Ooh,
Andy!
that feels a little better.
That sounded good. I like the sound of that drag coming out of the reel when you set up.
This fish, you know, I've done the numbers today. I've caught a lot of fish. I have to admit, John and Rich, they have caught the better fish. However, they basically spend most of the time mugging each other. Hey guys, I'm starting to see some color on this fish.
I think, wait, so
That's
you're
a
gonna
good
need a net,
fish.
bud. Hold on.
Yeah, we're gonna need the net on this
Two-handed,
one.
will you? Let me get five.
Scoot by.
Where we put that net?
Wow.
Wow, look at that fish, bud. That's what we're looking at. Hold on, let me get in the boat.
Hey, John.
Now we're talking.
That's a slob.
You may want to check your bait too, John.
So
Thanks,
Rich
Rich.
up front's been the two-handed fisherman.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I am getting the hang of
Have
this.
you had that?
Tiniest little jig, maybe 3/4 of an ounce, and this fish. Who's gonna go home and be dinner,
Andy,
basically.
did that jig swim when he hit it? Or
He
did
picked up the jig, he lifted about at least a foot off the bottom,
Right.
and I lost all the weight and I just swung. We keep,
When in doubt, swing.
when in doubt, bring him home.
And the old adage, dumb of the farmer,
Bigger the crop.
bigger the crop.
I don't mind being dumb every now and then.
Up teasing.
Listen, I just want to know, look, when I go out and fish with you guys, I have some serious issues about how tough it is to catch more fish than you guys do, or bigger ones. It never happens.
We never think about that, Andy.
But you guys are bottom fishermen. You're bottom feeders. That's just the way it is.
Speaking
you
of
guys
bottom-
spend a lot of time
Speaking of
bottom fishing.
Speaking of
Easy,
bottom
easy.
feeding.
Right
You
here,
guys
look
are
at this.
just
Look at
better bottom fishermen. That's it.
this. Mr. McGinn.
Oh, now there's a touch. Now watch. Watch the tip of the rod. As it starts to bend, bang. That's it.
That's textbook, Rich.
Yeah, that is. You know, that was a, ooh, nice fish. That was a, look at this. Woo hoo hoo.
Do you need the net?
What are we in? Freaking
Hang on.
9 feet of water, guys. Unbelievable. No, I'm going to lift this fish.
All
I'm going
right.
to lift him. He's looked pretty good. But you see how he started to walk away with that?
Oh, and they just pick up that jig and they just start walking
And
along the
they
bottom.
just-
There's
that's
there's no sinker, they're not pulling anything along.
Nope.
Like Blackfish lollipops. One bite.
You know, something interesting about this bite is that we originally set up in one spot, and the wind and the current have kind of conspired against us and are moving across this broken bottom, yet we're still picking fish out of it,
picking
and they're
a few.
good fish.
Which is a good thing because this time of year when you're up in the shallows like this, you cover more ground. These fish are not going to move very much a lot of times.
You know, we also have a big storm coming tomorrow. Do they tend to feed a little better? I've noticed that sometimes that these fish, changing barometer, especially like a dropping one like we have right now, they can certainly turn on.
Hold that for me.
Sure.
I hooked myself too.
Oh, yeah, that's going to be tricky to
Get the
remove.
braid in my zipper.
The classic braid under the zipper.
Take a look at that one.
Yeah, I will.
Well, you know what? I'm going to actually hold this fish because that's going to be good eating fish.
See the tail in that?
Yeah, you got chewed up. Bluefish.
Bluefish got on him.
I'm stuck.
Look, I say we just leave them.
This is your new rod. This is how we store our rods now when we're walking down the beach and around the boat. Stun your friends, amaze your family from Ronco.
Visit the Northeast Angling YouTube channel for hundreds of videos, including full-length episodes, exciting clips, product reviews, and instructional videos. And now, the exciting conclusion of Northeast Angling.
Nice little touch there.
There we go.
You and Johnny.
Oh, yeah. Good fish, guys. Good fish.
John, if that's a big fish,
Yeah, he's swimming right into the tide, Rich.
I see, like most people would think that you're going to lose these fish when you get something 7, 8, 9 pounds. Oh, they're just going to bring you right into the rocks, John.
Right.
You need a 7-foot conventional with 80-pound braid, and you got to get them out of them rocks. So what do? Talk to me.
The nice thing about fishing with the gear that we're fishing with, Rich, is we got a fast action tip on this rod to feel a bite, but we also have a lot of backbone in the rod. You know, 14-pound braid and a 50-pound leader, we're able to really control the fish. On the swing is the most important thing. You want to hold this rod very high.
Get
Okay.
the fish
And
out
they
of
come
the
down.
bottom
Yeah,
and
look at
don't
this
let 'em
one.
go back.
But these fish tend to move away from the boat.
They do.
When you stick these fish,
Right.
they
It's not
tend to take off.
It's not that straight up and
Right.
down, you know, feeling that you get when you're fishing with
See,
lead.
I think a lot has to do
Nice fish.
with when you're catching these fish with lead. What tends to happen is the weight of that sinker drives that fish's nose down.
Right.
Where with the weightless jig, they
Right.
tend to run away. Now
There you
that's
go.
a beautiful,
That's a
beautiful
really
fish.
solid fish.
And again, that's on a 7-foot spinner, light tackle. No problem. not
Rich,
losing
that one's
fish.
going in the well.
Oh, I just missed one.
Going in
But
the
you know
well.
what? The one thing that John said is he's actually using 14-pound braid. We're a little more conservative. We're using I'm using 30. Rich, you got 30 on
Yeah,
yours.
yeah.
Sometimes you go even more than that. And actually here, because the line diameters aren't that much different, it really doesn't matter that
Right,
much.
but the jigs that we're using are so light, Andy. For myself personally, I like the lighter line. Everybody's got their own opinion on it, and none of them's right or wrong. It depends on what you're comfortable with. You know, Rich will tell you, it's all about having confidence in what you're fishing with,
Well,
right, Rich?
confidence, no matter what you're fishing for, is everything. Like I said, it took him 10 freaking phone calls for me to finally try using one of these jigs. I just couldn't bring myself to doing it because I was just so traditional in the way I blackfished.
The other thing about this is that you need to be sure about where you're fishing. Know your bottom, okay? Bottom line is we know that what we're fishing on is craggy, sticky stuff. We don't have to put a sinker down to feel where we are. We know that we're in a boulder.
That's the other thing. You're not going to get the impression of what the bottom looks like in your mind like you will when you're bouncing a sinker
Right,
around.
because you're not really
But you
probing
have to
the
have
same
the
way.
confidence that you're in
And
the
you
right
know-
place.
And you need a machine also. If you look at the machine, you see the high spots, you see the boulders. You know you're on the right piece of structure. And again, confidence with these things are absolutely, positively everything.
There's a touch.
I have to say, this is the most fun I've had blackfishing in a very long time.
Like I said,
Whoa! There we go.
Johnny! Ooh,
There
that
it
looks
is,
good.
man. Look at that.
Wow.
This is going to revolutionize the way people blackfish. It
I'm
really
surprised that people don't do this more.
is. Well, it's not something that's been around forever, Andy, you know? I mean, like I said, Johnny's been making these jigs probably for about 4 or 5 years now. I didn't jump on the bandwagon right away because I just didn't believe it was going to work.
You know what's also good about this? I think you can fish with this confidently enough to
Got a
bounce
net there,
around
guys?
almost every...
Andy, got a
wow,
net?
that's a big fish. Almost every rock pile, anywhere in your local neighborhood, and be confident enough that if there are fish there, you're going to catch them.
Oh, I'm in.
Well, Rich, it's going to take a second here. We got the net to clear this net out. Here you go, John. See if we can get that out of the net real quick. We'll slide this over to Rich.
This is early blackfishing at its best, I think, Rich.
Oh, that's a nice fish, too. How big was that one? Oh,
Good one.
God, beauty. Andy, you ready for me?
Yeah.
On the deck now.
Wow. John might have you by a little bit.
That's okay. I'll take that any day.
And I'm getting tapped on over here.
Yo! Dog!
And by the way, Rich, here's John's fish. It's always good to lift up someone else's fish. John, you picked this fish up.
I think I'll do that, Andy.
Wow. Right in the top of the lip. Look at this.
Wow.
Wow.
How big is that fish, you think, Rich? I know you don't like to talk about weights, but...
I mean, I got to go 8 pounds, John.
Yeah, 7, 8 pounds.
Yeah,
8
you
pounds. Look at the back on him.
Yeah.
Nice.
Whoa, Andy's in.
You know, I'm
Unbelievable.
sitting here messing around with
Hey,
your
yo.
fish.
While you're at it, you think you can one hand that well for me?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I gotta go 7, 8 pounds,
Yeah.
easy.
A nice fish.
Yeah,
7,
they're
8
beautiful
pounds.
fish. Absolutely beautiful fish.
Well,
You
now
need
that
a
we
net
got
bud?
him growling, this is really the
Never
time. Yeah, hang on. Yeah, I'm gonna need a net on that.
Okay.
Wow.
Turn towards me.
That's nice.
Solid fish. Got him?
Well, I'll tell you what. He may not be as big as your two fish. He ain't bad.
I think he said that about 5,000 times.
No, you know, I have one good one today.
You had a great one today.
You had a great one
You
today,
just
right?
like that saying.
Yeah.
May not be the biggest, but it's damn nice.
Guys, we'll do this a few more minutes. As you can see, we are going to get weathered out here, and we got a long
Actually,
run to get
yeah.
back to Port Washington. But we do this a few more minutes, but I'll tell you what. You know I haven't gotten to fish a lot this season because I've been too busy doing other things. But this is much fun, and it's going to probably get me fishing more.
Well, like I was saying before, it's a different way to fish. It's a challenging. As far as I'm concerned, it's still the most challenging fish left to catch in the Sound.
It is.
You know?
All the way around.
I
From the
think
front end to
I
the
think we're going to
stick
open up a lot of people's eyes to the title tail jigs, to the light tackle, to everything. I think it's, you know, people are actually going to start believing in it and not be so skeptical like I was.
And like I said, you can go anywhere and do this, and probably use this as a great technique to scout all your local
South
pieces.
Shore, North Shore, from the Throgs Neck Bridge all the way east.
Yeah.
Any rock pile, any reef, execution reef, Spitz reef, any reef you want, working out east.
And I imagine it's got to work Jersey, Rhode Island, and anywhere
Everywhere.
else there's black.
I would, you know what? If you imagine getting these jigs up in shallow water off of Rhode Island,
Oh my
the way
God.
through this, oh my Lord.
We'll have to go there.
monster.
That'll be our next stop.
I think we're gonna have to do that. But
All right.
guys, good job, everybody.
Thank you.
Johnny,
That's the fish with you
Thanks
guys.
as usual. Always a
And hey-
pleasure. Always a pleasure.
best fish God ever created.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you for watching. You can use the buttons below to subscribe to our YouTube channel, watch more videos, or to learn more about the location, techniques, and gear as seen in this video.